Thank you both. Thank you. Now, Professor, how did that step go? It was like hop, and then here we go back. Hop. Ah! That's all right. Good. Well, thank you guys. This is awesome. I made a little mistake there. So, which reminds me, what do America, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Velcro, electricity, and Turkish tea have in common? Anybody? That's an easy one. They were all mistakes. They were all done by failure. Turkish tea, as I understand it, was some hot water that got a leaf that fell into it. And then it tasted good. And electricity was Ben Franklin out there flying a kite in the rain. And then a woman was feeding all of these very sick, infected people moldy bread, and they got better. And suddenly they realized it was the mold on the bread that was penicillin that would solve a lot of infections. And Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, I guess it was just like peanut butter and chocolate and magic. And America was somebody actually looking for the West Indies. But what were they all doing? They were all trying stuff. They were all doing things. They were all taking that first step. So here's what I think you should all do. This will be easy, right? You're in an auditorium. Everybody stand up, and I want you to just go ahead and take that first step toward entrepreneurship. Here we go. So I learned something there. I learned that was farther down than I thought. And I also learned that it was very difficult for all of you to take that first step, because there's something in the way. But when you start a business, there's going to be something in the way. You've got to find a way to take that first step. So everybody stay up. And what I want you to do is, this was a mistake we created that turned out to be really something awesome. And if you guys could start by just giving each other a high five, and then once you've gotten a high five, then you can give it to other people, and then you can sit down, okay? You gotta stay standing until all the high fives are done. As soon as you got a high five, you can sit down, and then just watch. Oh, no, we gotta do this right. Sorry, I saw high fives up there. We're only gonna have these two give the high five. None of you know about the high five yet. Okay? These two give a high five, and then once they've had a high five, then they can go give high fives to all these other people, and we'll just see what happens. Okay, and then just spread the high five. Oh, wait, I did this wrong. See, these mistakes, they pay off. Now you realize that what you're really supposed to do is everybody sit down. You two guys stand up. And give each other a high five. And once you're standing, you're free to give high fives. Okay? And we're going to try to get this done in a short period of time. So give each other a high five, and then when you're standing up, now you're a high five giver, and now just keep giving high fives. And then once you've gotten a high five, you can get up and you can give somebody else a high five. So okay, go ahead. Give high fives. Okay, now you're up. Now you can give him a high five, and then he can stand up. And then just, like, if you're standing up, keep standing up and give high fives. You're a high five giver. And if you're up, just keep giving high fives to everybody you can. Spread the high five. Spread the high five. You guys, look, you're not doing your work. Okay, once you're standing, you can give high fives. Spread the good high fives. Okay, good, we've got a, hey! Okay, is everybody up? Okay, you can sit now. Good job. All right. That was viral marketing. That's what I was thinking about when I kind of went to the Hotmail guys, and they had, it's really funny. I'm going to go through a few stories. Each of them is about failure and mistakes, okay? Failure and mistakes. And somehow, through all these failures, then all of these successes come. So just think, failure and mistake. You can, just by trying stuff, you have a chance to do something extraordinary. And I hope in your world, you will go and fail again until you succeed, because you will have a very full life. Many, many things will happen to you. You will have lots of discoveries. If you play a safe life, it may work out for you. It's likely, though, that 20 years down the road, you're going to be looking at yourself and go, why didn't I try that? Why didn't I do that? And it was like a fear of failure or a fear of embarrassment. So something else that you can do in the audience today is just go like this. And what this is I'm getting rid of all my high school hang-ups. Okay? High school hang-ups away. High school is like 13 to 18 years old or something, right? And you're all worried about what that other people think of you and all that stuff. Get rid of all that, because you've got to live your life. You've got to be your own person. And by being your own person, you are going to be able to make an amazing impact on the world. And all you have to do is sort of try stuff. Follow that vision. Keep trying and keep improving. Keep improving yourself, keep improving your life, keep improving your businesses. Just keep improving. So I thought I'd talk about mistakes, because they were fun, and they are great. And it's really fun because even today, I tried something. I thought, hey, the venture capital business is really poo-pooing this ICO world, these ICOs. And I said, they may be wrong. Who knows? Usually big authorities are wrong. And so I backed Tezos and I backed Bancor. And they took off, and these amazing things happened. And then, of course, today, I read in the paper that Tim Draper is doing something. I've forgotten exactly what they said, but it was like this horrible thing. Like, he's taking advantage of the little investor, and he's doing all this horrible stuff. And I thought, good, I'm still taking those chances where somebody's going to come after me. And I thought, that's terrific. If somebody's coming after you, you know you're onto something. If you're doing something that's popular, it's probably wrong. So think about that. It's probably wrong, the popular thing. So think in terms of what's right, what you know could be right, what you know could advance society, and then you're going to have a really interesting life. So, I take the chance, I fund the company, I get the bad feedback, and then the fun starts. I get to realize, oh, hey, now how do we handle it? Now I'm in the middle of the desert. What do I do? I've been dropped out of a helicopter. What do I do? Think about that. That's the fun of life. Those things. Not the little safe sitting there and watching TV and having your little job. Have a big job. Do a big thing. Do something fun. So here are a couple of fun stories. So these two guys came into our office, and they were about 26 years old, and they said, we want to organize the web. And we said, well, that's already being done. You know, there's Yahoo and a couple of others, and they're all already doing that. And but they were really bright guys, and my partner Steve Jurvetson said on their way out, as we were escorting them out, he said, well, do you have any other ideas? And they said, well, we do have this other idea. But they were afraid to get it out. And then they said, we're thinking that we could actually do free email on the web. And we said, free email, interesting. Come on back in. And then they told us all about this free email, and it was web-based, it was really cheap. We could deliver it for tenths or thousands of pennies per message, and that was a big deal. And then the founder, at the first board meeting, the founder said, it's up. And I said, what's up? And they said, it's up. You can now do real email on the web. And I said, oh, that's fantastic. How are you going to market it? And he said, oh, well, we're going to do TV ads and billboards and radio ads. And I said, wait a second, we gave you like $120,000. That's enough for a nanosecond of airtime and a postage stamp on the highway. And I said, and that was when sort of that failure or mistake turned into what is like necessity is the mother of invention. I was panicked. I was thinking, oh no, I've got to raise millions of dollars for this company. And instead I thought, well, wait a second. There are all those people out there on the web. They were mostly military and a few academics at that time, but there were a bunch of them. I said, can't you just blast a message out to all of them? And they said, oh no, that would be spamming. So I learned a new word, and I knew it was a bad word. And I was never really fond of the canned good called spam either. But I said, so let's, okay, well, that won't work. What if you put a little message at the bottom of everybody's screen that says, P.S. I love you, get your free email at Hotmail? And they looked at me like, oh my God, of all the investors we could have had, why did we get this one? And there were 20 guys who turned us down before he finally said yes, and now we're stuck with this guy. And I kept pounding, and I said, but can you technically do this? Can you actually have a message persist through multiple emails that just stays and says, get your free? And they said, yeah, P.S. I love you. What are you talking about? Anyway, about a week later, they called me and they said, we think we're going to try it, but no P.S. I love you. Just get your free email at Hotmail. I said, great, give it a shot, see what happens. And it spread to 11 million users in 18 months. And in one email was sent to the founder's friend in India, and it spread to 100,000 Indians in 3 weeks. And there were not 100,000 computers in India at that time. And so I thought, oh my God, we have just opened up the world. This is amazing. Communications is going to go easily everywhere for free. It's going to be fantastic. It's just, if they kept the P.S. I love you, we would have had a more peaceful and loving world. But anyway, we're all communicating, and it's a great thing. And that was all sort of a mistake. But they were doing something. They were trying. They were willing to stick their neck out and try something new. Now I'll tell you another mistake. I made a horrible mistake And it was that I was scheduled to be in a meeting in Palo Alto to give a presentation to my friend's event. The same day I had to be in Estonia for a Skype board meeting. And at that time, Skype was about, talk about mistakes. We funded a company against all of our better judgment. We were funding outlaws. They had started Kazaa before. They weren't allowed into the US. They were, I remember a big conversation with my partners saying, these guys are outlaws. And I kept saying, well, you know, pretty interesting. Anyway, they had about 3 million users, audio users only, at that time, and there were about 100,000 simultaneous users using Skype. When I went to this board meeting in Estonia, and I had the board meeting. These two things were a problem. I had two things I had to do at the same time. So what do? I thought, well, maybe I can do a video conference from here to there, and I can be at the Skype board meeting. And I asked the organizer, hey, can I do a video conference? And he was very nice, because at that time, video was like this. But he said, go ahead, sure, this is great. Can you interview that Nicholas Zenstrom? He's a real up and rising star. And I said, oh, no problem, love to have him, it'll be great. So I called Nicholas and I said, can you, first, would you like to be interviewed? And second, is there any video conferencing equipment in Estonia that can work? And he said, there's a little hesitation, he goes, no problem. And I ignored it for a while, and then we went to Estonia. I went to Estonia, and I'm sitting down with Nicholas, and we're getting set to be interviewed. And Nicholas looks over my shoulder and he goes, "Okay, throw the switch." And I thought, what? And he said, "Never mind." And then we did the whole interview, and I asked my friend Tony Perkins on the other side of the world, how did it go? And he said, oh, it was so great. We could see the pores on your skin. We could hear your voice crystal like crystal. And it was just the most fabulous thing. And Nicholas is chuckling over here. And I'm going, what's so funny? And he goes, you just were in the first Skype video call. And I said, oh my God, this is fantastic. And he goes, not so fast, Tim. We cut off 100,000 simultaneous users to get the bandwidth so that we could do the video call. So that was sort of, but a good entrepreneur will do whatever it takes. And weirdly, that led to Skype being acquired for $4 billion by eBay, because there was an eBay biz dev person in the audience in Palo Alto while we were in Estonia. I could go on, but here's another one that's kind of fun. I will go on because I seem to have a lot of time up here, so enjoy it. This guy came to me, and his name was Ian Wright, and he had the Wright Mobile, and it was an electric car, and I was looking at him thinking, electric car, really? Electric cars are for golfers and tree huggers, and they don't go very fast, they don't go very far. He said, come hop in with me. So we sit down into this electric car, and he goes, okay, strap in. And he's got a 5-point strap. And I'm thinking, what? It's a golf car. Why am I strapping in? He said, strap in. He straps me in, and we take off. It's like the G-force of a roller coaster. And we took off up 280 Road, this big, huge freeway in California, turned around, came flying back. We were just about to run a red light. I was just panicking. And he hits the brakes, and we stopped just like on a dime. And I went, whoa, no car can do that. He said, this car can do that. And I said, well, what's with all those other electric cars? And he said, oh, lithium-ion battery is the new thing, and it's this thing, and it gives you a lot more thrust. And so I got very excited about that. And I went to one of these conferences where they were all electric car hobbyists. And all of them mentioned this one company called Tesla. And it was run by a guy named Martin Eberhard. And Martin came and he figured out that, you know, by the way, these lithium-ion batteries were great, but they blow up. They explode and they light on fire. And he said, well, we can put them all in parallel, put lots of little ones in parallel, so if one blows up, we can route around it. And if we put it all in parallel, we can get much better thrust out of the vehicle. And that was why people were really intrigued by this. It was safer and faster. So I went to my partners and said, you know, hey, we got to back these guys. And my partners are going, wait. There is a graveyard of car companies that have been created over the last 50 years. And they started listing them all, the DeLorean. Anyway, there were lots of them. And I said, yeah, but there's something to this. And then we funded it, and my partners were basically right, because it's very capital intensive. And the company ran out of business, completely out of money, total mistake. And then Elon Musk came in and said, I'll put in $10 million and I'll run it. And everybody went, hallelujah, this is great. We're going to be running this. We've still got a hope for this car. And so Elon ran the company, and the company just took off. And Elon somehow masterfully borrowed $400 million from the government. He went and bought this amazing auto plant in Fremont, California for about 5 cents on the dollar. And then he built Tesla. And so that was yet another mistake. We funded the wrong company. It went out of business. It looked like it was going out of business. The guy who ran it, who started it, failed. But think of what a success he created. He failed. Go out there and fail. It makes a big difference. It will change your life. Comfort with failure is a big deal. So, like I noticed that in 2009, 2008, when was it crash? 2008. The markets crashed, the world was coming to an end, the dollar seemed to be worthless. Nobody knew what to do. And I thought, okay, well, this is the time that heroes rise. And no heroes rose. Everybody went and hid. Financial community is they hide. They feel like they've got to miserly hold on to their money. And they were hiding. And I thought, something's wrong here. Society's done something wrong. There need to be some heroes. And I thought about how they were all educated. And they were all educated in boxes. Is that a good game? Oh. They're all educated in boxes, and they're all educated the same way they've been educated from years and years. You know, they're still learning ancient Greek. They're still learning who knows what else. But the other part of it is it's all individualistic. How do you get an A? You get an A like top grade. How do you get the top grade? 100 or an A. You make no mistakes. Think about that. We're training people not to make mistakes. If you make mistakes, it's supposed to be bad. We're not training people to do extraordinary things. And if you've done something extraordinary, it doesn't fit into the box, so you don't get an A. And if you fail big because you tried something new, you get an F. And an F's not good, or a 0, or a whatever. So I thought, well, yeah, education's got to change. Maybe that's what we really need to do. And so that's why I started Draper University of Heroes, to start looking at education in a whole new way. And I thought, okay, well, the worst that can happen is I could fail. So I tried. I took that step. I won't do it again, but I took that step. And the most amazing surprise for me was that it worked. Here's what we did. We made it immersive. We thought about when students like to wake up in the morning. It's usually like 10 or 11. We thought about when they go to bed. It's usually about 3 in the morning. And we thought, well, why don't we get in that window and do the work in that window and not try to wake everybody up at 7 o'clock in the morning after they've been out until 3. And then we thought, well, out in the real world, everybody works in a team. And it's usually a team you're only kind of okay with. It's not a team that are a team of your absolute best friends. It's a team of interesting people who are all a little different from you. If you're lucky, they'll all be different from you. And so I thought, well, why don't we figure out how to make it team-based? So we made it team-based. And then, and it was also easier to organize since it was team-based. I'd say, okay, Team Lightning, get over there. Team Thunder, get over there. Team whoever, get over there. And it was a great way to sort of organize a large group of people. And then I'd give the teams challenges, some crazy stuff, like, okay, everybody's got to get up to San Francisco, get a job offer on paper from somebody they've never met before, and come back in 24 hours. Go. How's that for school? Whole new world. All of a sudden, they're going, oh, we actually have to do something. We have to go out and try something. We have to talk to people. It was a breakthrough. They loved it. They came back, 93% of them had a job offer on paper. One of them got a job sweeping a gay bar from 3 to 7 in the morning. Extra points for that team. So this team-based approach was really great. And then I thought, well, gosh, if they're going to be entrepreneurs, it's going to be tough. And I'll give you a story about an entrepreneur it's been really tough for. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's going to be tough. If you're going to be a really successful entrepreneur, it's going to be really tough. Because if you build a nice little business, everything's going to be okay. The world will let you fit in. If you build something extraordinary, you're affecting a lot of people who like the status quo. You are putting people potentially out of their jobs. You are taking money out of their children's mouths and putting it into your team's mouths. That gets challenging. Your competition will come at you with a vengeance if you are super successful. So who here wants to be super successful? Okay. Apply to Draper University. If you had your hand up. And if you want to be super successful, know that you are going to affect the status quo. The status quo does not like changing. And they attack you in a lot of different ways. The competition orchestrates it. And they usually go after you legally. They say, hey, that's not fair. They say the government, that's not fair. They go after the government. They lobby the government to put you out of business. They rally the other status quo participants and try to make sure that they're all aware of it so that they come after it. And then they try to create sort of a deep throat to the press. So this has happened to so many great companies. I mean, Uber was attacked by the taxis, and the Airbnb is attacked by the hotel business. We've had a couple of these really bad attacks, and one was tragic. This woman came to me. She was 19 years old, and she was a good friend of my daughter's. I knew her growing up. She was delightful. And she said, I'm dropping out of Stanford's biochemistry department, and I'm going to change medicine and healthcare as we know it.
And I said, okay, I'm listening. And she said, they're doing it all wrong. They're drugging people they shouldn't be. The hospitals are, trying to fill up so that they make more money. The insurance companies are charging more and more, and they have a weird incentive for people to get more sick, so they take more drugs, so they get more sick and take more drugs. I thought, okay, I'm listening. This is great. She said, I'm going to come up with something. She actually had several ideas, and this was the one she started with. You're going to take 2 drops of blood from your finger, and you're going to run 50 blood tests. Okay, think of who this affects. 50 blood tests. And then you'll keep track of your blood tests, and you'll take control of your blood tests. You'll say, hey, I know what this is, and you'll be able to keep perfect records of it, and you'll have data, and you'll see what trend lines are and all that. And then she went into research mode and went for it and raised a bunch of money. She raised a little from me and a bunch from other people. And then she finally said, we've got it. Here it is. 2 drops of blood. You can run 50 blood tests. It goes up into the cloud. You can keep track of your blood. You can attach this to other data. You can compare your blood to other people's blood, and you can see how that blood affects is affected by this kind of a drug or this kind of a disease. And suddenly she was the biggest overnight success ever. This is Elizabeth Holmes with Theranos. She was the first female billionaire, self-made, under 30. And she was the cover of Forbes magazine. She was everywhere. And then there were these little rumblings. The competition, one of the competitors said, I saw a little blog, it says, she's valued at more than we are. And we've been around for 40 years. So it's worth more. But that was like the first of the rumblings. Then there's this message that somehow finds its way to a Wall Street Journal reporter who decides to make it his life's mission to take her down a notch. She's this beautiful woman on the cover of Forbes magazine. I'm going to take her down a notch. I'm going to be like the Watergate guys taking down Nixon. And so he wrote 43 articles over the next year. 43 articles, and not one of them had a fact in it. It was all innuendo. But that innuendo was enough to really take down the business, because what happened was people looked at it and they said, oh, that must be true. And then they piled up, and then they started to spread fear. Oh, you might be killing people by giving them the wrong lab results. Oh, you might be, the thing doesn't work that well unless you take more than 2 drops of blood, like 3 drops or something. And the Wall Street Journal came after her, and then the press was just crazy, and she never responded. She withdrew. She's very analytical, and if you're analytical and you're under stress, it's analysis paralysis, right? That's what happens. And she didn't move. She didn't respond. She just let them run right over her. And that was the end of one of the great companies of the world. So you can run into this. But there's a great way to go after it. Skype got attacked by the telecommunications people. The telecom people didn't know what they were mad at. They just knew that there was this really cheap, easy way to do long distance, and their business was starting to fall off. So they just got mad. Well, Skype's technology was this peer-to-peer technology, and this company, Vonage, had this voice-over IP technology. And what Skype did was they took all this information, and then they started to say, yeah, that voice-over IP technology is really trouble. I think you really do need to regulate that. So they did this whole jujitsu move, you know. Okay, we'll do that. And suddenly, you know, Vonage was under siege, but Skype just was able to spread this wonderful free communication throughout the world very easily. And that was a major breakthrough. And then it was too late. Then it was too late. By the time the competition realized that they had kind of missed the boat, it was too late. Elon got attacked by and my guess is it was the car companies were behind it. And they got a writer for the New York Times to go write a story that said, these batteries don't last the 250 miles that they say they last in cold weather. And he showed that it only lasted like 120 miles. And Elon looked at that and said, what? You know, maybe it's 215, but it's not 120. And he thought, huh. But what this this New York Times reporter didn't understand is that Elon is monitoring every car that he sells out on the road. So he goes, okay, let's check the database. And he goes and he checks the database and he finds the car. And that car drove around a parking lot for 3 hours to run out of gas, run out of fuel, and then ran and came up short. And he was totally busted. And then the other thing Elon did is every time he got attacked, he attacked back with yes, but we are going to be the safest, best, whatever car. So like one car blew up, and Elon came back and said, still the safest car on the road by 10x. And then they came after him for something else, and each time, and then he said, yes, but it's the best car for the environment. And they came back for something else, and he said, yes, but it's the fastest car on the road. Make sure you're ready to come. You with the hands up, make sure you're ready to come back hard and fast, because the people are programmed to believe what they hear in the press. But I think less so now. I mean, yeah, you guys are probably smarter than that because a lot of your world is social media. So now I'm going to go talk about the world a little bit. I was just in Korea, and I ran into the former president of Estonia, who created this e-residency card. And I'm actually the number 3 virtual resident of Estonia. Yeah, there's an Estonian here. All right, yeah. And he runs the residency program. So there you go. So go see if you can get a card after this. Anyway, the reason I knew them was that the prime minister came to Draper University to speak, and he said, just by instituting digital signatures, we saved 2% of the GDP. And then digital voting made it so the young people started to vote. Apparently they don't like those creepy voting booths. And then the third thing was digital identity, which lowered their crime rate and improved their business climate. So somehow, just by creating this electronic government that was cheaper, much more efficient, much more effective, much fairer, all of a sudden, this country is on the map, very important, and doing some extraordinary things. So anyway, I was congratulating him, and he said, yeah, great. I'm now working at Stanford, and so I'm not even doing this anymore, but there are 20,000 people who are virtual residents. And I thought, 20,000? They really didn't think through the viral marketing thing. So then my next stop was Kazakhstan. I actually had to stop in Uzbekistan, where I lost my luggage, which, by the way, just came back. And the only thing that was missing from my luggage, weirdly, was my toiletry kit. I guess that's a premium in Uzbekistan. So anyway, I am shaved. I'm clean, I'm shaved. Anyway, I landed in Kazakhstan and met with the prime minister and the deputy prime minister and the mayor of the city there, the capital city. And I talked to them about the e-residency. And I said, and this is great that you're here listening because this is kind of a breakthrough, I think. They said, well, look, yeah, we want to try the e-residency. And I said, great, so you'll compete with Estonia. And they said, yeah, but how do we get more people to come here? I mean, we get a bad reputation, and we need to get people here. We need to get them excited about being in Kazakhstan. And I said, okay, yeah. I looked through Wikipedia, and I realized that you guys are supposed to be totalitarian and bad for human rights and all this other stuff. And I've watched Borat, and it's not necessarily the best thing for your country. And then I said, but what I see are some people who really want to free the country, who really want to grow the economy, make great things happen. And they said, yes, yes, yes. So I said, okay, start with the e-residency, but let's go bigger than what Estonia did. And they were going, yeah. And I said, yeah, why don't we have I was greeted by all these countries by somebody looking at me going, visa? Where's your visa? Visa? And then I thought, God, is that really the way you want to greet people coming into your country? And they were earlier bragging about how they had this big expo. 3 million people came from all over the country and a few from other countries. And it was a great thing, and I said, I put those two things together, and I said, well, why don't you be the first country to do this? Have some attractive people greet everybody coming off the plane and say, welcome to Kazakhstan. Here's your virtual residency card, and you can and once that thing's filled out, or do it on the plane, but once this thing's filled out, you will breeze right through customs because we know who you are, and you're just going to be saying the same thing over and over again. So breeze through customs. And then we might be able to, down the road, provide you with healthcare insurance. We might be able to provide you with all those things that governments are providing now that are virtual, that don't really have to be land-based. And then they got excited about that. And then I said, and you know the word Kazakh means free, and stan means land. And so I thought, well, why don't you do a whole new campaign that says, I am Kazakh, I am free, I am Kazakh. And if you're free and you're Kazakh, it's like you get that card and you feel like, I'm free. This is like my free card, and I go and I tell all my friends about it, and then they come to Kazakhstan because they want a free card. And then you start adding more and more services to the card, and pretty soon you've got millions and millions of virtual residents of Kazakhstan, and you end up being potentially the government of the world unless he competes with you. So I hope they do it. It'll be great. But then, think about this. Any of you political science majors? Political science? Yeah. Okay. It's really interesting, political science right now. We're at a very sensitive time because you and I know that the blockchain and Bitcoin are transforming our world. People are going to laugh. In 5 years, people are going to laugh if you try to buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks with fiat currency. They're going to be going, what, you don't have any virtual currency? What is this? And I think that's only 5 years away. And then think about governments, what they do. A lot of what they do is they keep track of things and people, and a lot of it is insurance, you know, protecting you from accidents and trouble. All of that can be done on the blockchain, and the blockchain bureaucrat is honest, fair, incorruptible. So all of these governments have all these people who are getting disintermediated. They're getting thrown for a loop. Suddenly, they are in trouble, and they have always been the safe power. I control my destiny, I control my environment, what I say goes, and now they're scrambling. Every time I go to a new country now, it's like, how do I create the ecosystem you created around Draper University and Draper Associates, the venture firm? How do I do that in my country? We want you to come to our country and invest. We want you to come to our country and bring entrepreneurs. They're all challenging each other, and it's all because they're sensing something is wrong with governments everywhere. They are charging too much, and they are providing too little, and they know it. So this is how I invest. This is why I've been big on Bitcoin and the blockchain and all that. This is how I invest. I look at companies that, checking the time, we got 6 minutes and 16 seconds. So bear with me. 6 minutes, you can do this. Okay, here's what I look for in a company. I look for industries where the industry is providing bad service at a high cost. Okay? Bad service, high cost. Think of a few of those. Banking. Sorry, I know there's a banker that's sponsoring this thing. Banking, legal, accounting, the venture capital, my job. We are way overpaid for what we do. Investment banking, it definitely needs transforming. It's like this, they've got a very tight relationship with the government, and they've made it so the rules are so intense that only an investment banker could go through and tolerate putting all those rules together for each new company that goes public. Insurance, real estate, your cable company, anyway, government is the one industry it is providing the worst service at the highest cost. So I look at that and I say, where's the opportunity? And it's usually where there's a new technology that's coming along, and that new technology has a way of wedging into that industry and changing it. The taxis were providing a horrible service, and all of a sudden, new technology came, that marketplace thing, and Uber arrived. The media business was doing a horrible job, overpricing and underperforming, and they had, these guys are coming to arrest me for some of the things I've said. No, I love Turkey. I got a visa. By the way, I think I have a rare visa. I have the one American passport with a visa today. I don't know how I got it. I was actually looking at I was in Kazakhstan, and I looked at the woman, and she said, wait, American going to Turkey, no visa. And she looks at me like, where's your visa? And I said, oh, I don't have one. I understand that I don't really need it. Or I thought I didn't really need it. And she looks at me, she looks down, looks at me, looks down. Good luck. Anyway, once I arrived here, I thought, well, nothing's going to keep me from getting through, once you're physically there. And so, where was I? What was I talking about? 3 minutes, 21 seconds. Okay. I was talking about what I invest in, and I look for those entrepreneurs who are looking for that wedge. They go in and then they find the wedge with the new technology, and then they break in, and then they grow that wedge, and then they delight their customer, and they keep improving the service. And those people make our lives so much better because they keep the heat on the status quo. So if I leave you with one thing, go out there and make some mistakes. Everybody get up, stand up, and I want you to say the following. We have a pledge at Draper University. Hey, we got some alumni here. Alumni, you want to come up? We'll do the whole pledge. All I want you guys to do is say this one line. But anybody who's an alum, come on up. By the way, they must have liked the experience pretty much if they're still talking to me and willing to get up here and do the pledge. Okay, the one line I want you to do is, we'll give you the time when you got to do it, is I will fail and fail again until I succeed. Wait a second, hands on your hearts, people. Okay, good. Okay, ready, everybody? Yeah. Okay. I will promote freedom at all costs. I will do everything in my power to drive, build, and pursue progress and change. My brand, my network, and my reputation are paramount. I will set positive examples for others to emulate. I will instill good habits in myself. I will take care of myself. I will fail and fail again until I succeed. Wait a second. Okay, everybody. I will fail and fail again until I succeed. I will explore the world with gusto and enthusiasm. I will treat people well. I will make short-term sacrifices for long-term success. I will pursue fairness, openness, health, and fun with all that I encounter. Mostly fun. I will keep my word. I will try my best to make reparations for my digressions. All right, good job. And you remembered. Well done. So that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for tolerating this 13-hour session. You know, I just wanted to break Castro's record. Castro spoke to his people for 13 hours. So if we can wait another 3, 2, 1. Yeah! All right, thank you.